Chapter 1, the genesis of greatness, the genesis of Dominic Stuckey. See, you may have never heard of Dominic Stuckey. You may never even hear of him. But I'll tell you who he is. He's the one your kids will cheer for, your grandkids will revere. They'll wish you were Dominic Stuckey. See, it's really easy to say I won't make it. There's probably 100 to 1 odds. But as long as there's one, I'll be that one. That one that proves you wrong. That one that climbs to every mountain in every business and holds their titles. Beats their champions. Pins all their best wrestlers. See, because there's this big world out here. But right now it's empty. Right now there's no one in here. There's no one there to witness just what I can do. Because no one believes. You don't start with believers. You make believers. And trust me, oh trust me, my smack talk is fact talk, and there is no fiction in my diction. When I tell you I'm going to be the best, you better believe it. See, because this is just the beginning. This is just the genesis. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to In Your House, starring Alakan Howse. This is the P.O.S.E. podcast. So, today is the 17th. Happy birthday to the GOAT, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So, yesterday I was slated to be at DCCW in Muncie, Indiana at the Mad Jacks building. I was not able to fulfill that obligation due to me being at work, and I wasn't happy at all. But I did hear it was a great show, and I heard that it was a sellout show, as a matter of fact. So congratulations to everybody at Delaware County Championship Wrestling in Muncie, Indiana. Very happy to hear about that success. Wish I could have been there. I really wanted to go and mingle and get my name out there as a podcaster. Unfortunately, work came first and I couldn't make it. So, still dealing with this cold. It stinks, but, you know, I've been trying to fight it as much as I possibly can. So, yesterday I was listening to another podcaster from the local area. His name is Dave Dynasty, former professional wrestler and promoter turned podcaster. And I was listening to his podcast with Mike King, who I did my episode 10 special with. Shout out to Mike King. Glad to hear everything went well for the show. The Valentine Vengeance show, that is. And he was mentioning that Evolve 128 is coming to Indianapolis on May 11th. I had heard nothing about that until I had first heard it from Dave Dynasty on his podcast. And immediately I had to get tickets. So I will be at Evolve 128 with my wife and buddy, also a part-time co-host here. He's been here on one episode, Michael Hutcherson. So get there. May 11th, Southside Turner in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll be there. A lot of great talent will be there. Street Profits are the Evolve Tag Team Champions currently. So that should be exciting. Speaking of exciting independent talent, my guest tonight is a very, very exciting independent young talent from Georgia. He's wrestled for Wrestle America and a lot of other promotions in the Georgia area.
super talented. I've known him since he was very young. And now he's making his way into the business now, and he's really making a splash. So I'm excited to be talking to him. I'll have him on the phone here very, very soon here on the horn. And we're going to chop it up and talk about everything, man. We're going to talk about where it all started for him, his influences, everything. So very excited to finally be talking to my man, the lightweight lion, Dominic Stuckey. As I said, I worked yesterday all day. Missed that incredible show. But that is okay. And do you know why? I'm going to tell you folks why. Because since I did not get a chance to go to that show, and I came straight home instead of going to said show, I was able to get a little bit more behind the scenes work done for the podcast. So I'm very, very proud. I mean, happy and proud to announce that In Your House, my podcast, is now published on Spotify. It's now published on Spotify, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get a hand? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yes, we did it. We did it. We are now on Spotify. We did it. Look out for me also being on iTunes. That's coming up soon as well. Looking to be on TuneIn, which would mean you'll be able to hear me on your Alexa. That's also coming up. Very exciting, guys. That's so exciting. It's not... I had to do the publishing, but it was y'all. It was y'all. You guys kept pushing me, kept wanting to hear it, kept wanting to hear more things. So I'm truly, truly appreciative of everything that my fan base, not F-A-N, F-A-M, fam base, okay? I'm proud of everything my fan base they've gotten behind me, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, I just wanted to get that out there that I am now on Spotify. I am close to being on iTunes, and much, much more coming in the very near future. So, without further ado, I'm going to get ready to speak to my good friend, independent professional wrestler from Georgia, the Genesis, the lightweight lion, Dominic Stuckey. Why he sitting on the throne, why he sitting on the throne, but now I'm home and I'm not alone. Yo, we coming for the throne, yo, we coming for the throne.
Oh, it's going great, Colin. It's going great. Glad. Oh, feelings mutual, man. I'm glad to finally be on.
Good stuff, man.
Glad to actually
I'm sorry, guys. I actually had it's my fault. I had my mic on mute. Guys, I have Dominic Stuckey on here. The lightweight lion. I just wanted to clear that up, guys, real quick. I asked him. I told him it was great to be talking to him. So, man, what's all? How's it going, man? Tell me something good.
It's going great. I'm glad to finally be talking to one of the guys from Better Than You. I'm just really excited to be on the podcast.
Cool, man, and I'm excited to have you here, man.
This is one of my first ones, so.
Oh, good, man, good. I'm glad I got you so quick. So we was talking offline a little bit, and I really wanted to ask you one of the biggest things, and I wanted to ask you for a while, but I'm more of a conversational type of guy, not really on the Facebook or the Instagram, but more like talking on the phone or in person. I wanted to ask you, man, where did it all start for you? You know what I mean? What made you want to do this? You know what I mean? Where was it that you were like, I have to be a part of this?
Oh, well, unlike most wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like something cool that I saw that I like had to get into. Really, what happened was I'm from Florida, but I used to come up to Georgia every summer to spend with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather basically told me that, those guys are great. You'll never be good like those guys. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write that down. I'm petty enough that I'll go be one of those guys just to prove you wrong.
Right.
And I kind of forgot about it. And then when I moved up to Georgia full time, one of my friends had a trampoline in his backyard, and just so happened that year was WrestleMania 25 with Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. And when I saw that match, I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. Trust me, I'll be doing that soon.
Oh, are you talking about the very first Shawn Michaels and Undertaker from WrestleMania?
Yes, sir. Right
Dude,
there at
that's
25.
my favorite. Yes, 25. That's my favorite match of all time.
Same. I've watched that match a million times.
Oh, yes.
It's embarrassing, but that is my match right there. I love a lot of other matches, don't get me wrong, but that was the one that I was like, all right, if this is what good is, I want to be able to do this. So.
Oh, no, I totally get that. I think that match with the way that the indies are nowadays, so fast paced and everything, I think that match sometimes gets lost in translation for how good it really was. But I really feel like that match just really, I mean, the way they built it, the story that it told, I just thought it was a phenomenal match. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker being one of my favorites of all time personally. And that leads me to my next question, Dominic. Who are some of your favorites? Who are some of your influences that you saw and they attracted you to wrestling? And who are some of your influences that kept you with wrestling?
I guess started from the top. A lot of people think my favorite wrestler is John Cena because of the Dom Cena thing.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I know that.
Actually, number 2. My favorite one is actually Undertaker. So, The old school move was always great. I love the choke slam. I don't love taking them. The tombstone was awesome. It was really hard convincing your friends in the backyard you could let you tombstone them, but it was always an awesome move. Of course, Cena. I always liked Cena's strength because at that same WrestleMania, that's when he picked up Big Show and Edge. And early in my career, I actually used to do double Samoan drops on the guys whenever I had the opportunity. Who else? One that a lot of people don't know, Mickie James.
Really?
She was my first favorite female wrestler. And not because she was attractive or anything. I liked how well she wrestled. So she had the Nick kick. So I've been working on the Nick kick as of late. And whenever I get that down, I'll make sure I send some videos out. Who else? Chris Jericho. He's the GOAT. Really, really love Chris Jericho's work.
Oh,
I've always aspired to be kind of like Jericho because he was one of those guys that he wasn't doing 450s, but he could. He wasn't doing, triple power bombs, but he could. He was just one of those guys that could do a lot of stuff, and he just doesn't get a lot of credit that I feel like he deserves.
Right,
but I feel like now that he's getting older, everybody's hopping back onto the Y2J train.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Mick Foley's definitely one too. I don't know why. It's just like when I watched that Attitude Era back, I know a lot of people were either Stone Cold or The Rock.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was just a Mick Foley guy. Like, he was just
because
great.
He's the everyman?
Yeah, and he's also the reason why I do double arm DDT. Because I liked him. He was always just so genuine. Like, I can understand Stone Cold was actually who Steve Austin was. I can understand The Rock was who Dwayne was.
Yeah.
But Mick Foley, no matter if he was Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, I always felt like he was Mick Foley. I felt like whenever I watched him, and a lot of times when I watched him, I was watching him after the fact, but even when he got into TNA, he wasn't really himself. He was still himself. If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, man. That makes perfect sense. So, we talked about some of your influences, and obviously, sadly, by the time that you break into the upper echelon part of the business. No disrespect to where you're wrestling at now, absolutely not. But I mean the Ring of Honors and ROH, or the Ring of Honors and the NXTs of the world and everything like that. Which, in my personal and humble opinion, I think you're good enough to get there. I really, honestly do. I'm not blowing smoke up. I'm not blowing any smoke up your tights. I think you're good enough. I think you got a great look. I think you got great charisma. That's my opinion. But since you will not be able to wrestle any of the influences that I just named off, who are some dream opponents for you that you would like to wrestle moving forward as your career elevates and moves forward in the future?
Starting with guys I know, I met the Young Bucks. I was actually on a show with them back in October, and I met Kenny Omega last June.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to get a 6-man in sometime in the future. This is just wishful thinking. Me, my friends from GB1C, they're another great up-and-coming tag team.
Yeah.
Versus the Elite. I love to be able to wrestle Kenny, the Young Bucks. And honestly, I'm not much of a tag team wrestler, but just watching their work, it's just always been fantastic. Even when they were Generation Me back at TNA, I always loved the Bucks. So they would be great. Jericho would be great. And, we were talking about age, but Jericho's timeless, and he might be wrestling 5 stars when he's 70 years old.
Good point. Good point.
Cena's definitely one. I feel like when Hogan was the man, he never had a pass of the torch with Stone Cold. Stone Cold never did it with Cena. But, if you want to be the man, Ric Flair says you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
So, crossing my fingers, one day I could pin John Cena at a WrestleMania. Speaking of WrestleMania, I would love to wrestle Roman Reigns when he gets healthy.
Yeah.
Because of WrestleMania 33 when he beat Undertaker. I really thought that was it for Taker, and since Taker's being my favorite, I marked it down in my book. I was like, I'll get revenge. So,
I like that mindset.
A return. Another guy, he's not in WWE, but he's really popular around the Indies, and I've known about him for a little bit. Ever since I got into Georgia wrestling, he was kind of been the standard of Georgia wrestling, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's Austin Theory. He has this extremely great look, extremely charismatic, can do every move in the book, and that was just another guy that I always wanted to be able to tear it down, whether it was at the Tokyo Dome or Superdome, or even if it was just in some random gymnasium. Those were guys that I liked to wrestle. Oh, and Daniel Bryan, speaking of gymnasium.
Yes,
Daniel Bryan.
Yes. Is Austin Theory currently in Evolve?
Oh, yeah, he's the Evolve champion.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, please continue.
Oh, I was going to say, even though I've known him a little bit before he was Evolve champion. He was in high school when I was in high school, middle school when I was in middle school. He was just a year older. So we didn't actually meet a lot, but I always knew of him. Daniel Bryan would definitely be one because I did amateur wrestling for 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm not great. I'm not Angle or Brock or Shelton, but I would love to be able to wrestle Daniel Bryan because that's one thing that I feel kind of gets lost in translation with me as the wrestler.
Yeah.
Is that when you do highlights, people want to see you kick or flip. And honestly, my favorite part about wrestling is the ground game, that mat game that guys like Eddie, Dean had, and Daniel Bryan nowadays. And Nigel McGuinness too. Since he never made it into WWE, people kind of forget about his mat game, but Nigel's great at it as well. And guys like William Regal. Love Regal. Too bad I was so upset when I learned that Regal wasn't going to be wrestling anymore because I didn't know Regal was as old as he was. So I was really upset when I found out that he wasn't going to be wrestling.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of him.
I guess if I could throw in one more, it'd be Velveteen Dream. I met him in 2015 when he was still hot off Tough Enough because they were filming in Orlando, so I would see him around at events, especially NXT events.
Yeah.
And I just love to be able to wrestle him. I love those full circle things, and I think that would be one of the ones that was like, all right, this makes sense for Dom. A lot of mine are either you inspired me in some way, or I was hoping that we can be on equal footing. And Velveteen is definitely one of those you inspired me, so hoping to be on equal footing.
That's so awesome, man. Just because I really like Velveteen Dream's story. I guess my question for you is this. I don't know. Are you following NXT these days?
Yeah, I set an alarm every Wednesday at like 7:50 so that I can watch each episode. I always catch the takeovers.
Yeah.
And even if I can't watch the episodes, I'll always watch like the replays on YouTube whenever they come out. I honestly follow NXT better than I follow Raw.
Yeah.
I watched SmackDown religiously because that was the first time I've ever seen wrestling was from a SmackDown episode. So I follow that religiously. I follow NXT religiously, and Raw kind of just gets lost sometimes.
Okay, no, I understand. Trust me, I get it. I get it. But so your boy Velveteen, he has a title match next week against Johnny Gargano. You think he's gonna take it?
Whew. The thing, oh man, it's hard because Johnny just got it.
Yeah.
And Johnny's such a fantastic wrestler that he should have it.
Yeah.
But Velveteen's great too, and I think if Velveteen takes it, it's WrestleMania season, so if Velveteen takes it, that means the Monday after WrestleMania or the Tuesday after WrestleMania, Johnny can be on the main roster.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
that will be what I'll be looking forward to, because Velveteen's not going to the main roster just yet. He's great, but NXT can still get a little more out of him.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there's much more that NXT can get out of Johnny, because we've had the DIY feud.
Yeah.
We've had them be together, and their teams and getting back together now, so I just don't really see what else he has to prove in NXT.
Right. No, I totally get it. Totally understand that. So NXT, of course, we both know that NXT is the future of this industry, the future of Raw, the future of SmackDown, the future stars of not just today, tomorrow, and beyond. Kind of like how I see you. So I guess my next question for you, Dominic, is what does the future hold for you? Are there any different promotions for you in the future? Any Ring of Honors? Any New Japans? I know that's a far ways away. Pro Wrestling Guerrillas, anything like that. What does the future hold in the genesis of Dominic Stuckey?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I know I want to go wrestle in different states.
Yeah.
If I got to plan it out myself, I would go to Ring of Honor for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
I would even go to TNA for a year or two.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to go to NXT immediately
right.
because having met some people that went to NXT and some of the guys that come back, when they get to the indie level, they're not prepared for the rest of the world of wrestling.
Right.
I want to be able to get the rest of the world of wrestling, kind of like AJ and Daniel Bryan did, and then go there. And I don't mind working my way from the bottom to the top, so if I have to do that in 3 or 4 promotions, then I think that's just awesome.
No,
I'm just hoping to be able to, instead of being a Georgia wrestler, become a Southeast wrestler, then become just an Eastern Seaboard wrestler, then just an American wrestler. Be one of those guys. Like, instead of just being in your state or your city, I love to be able to expand.
It sounds like you want to culture yourself as a wrestler.
Yeah, because, I mean, I have my opinion what I think wrestling is.
Yeah.
But what I think wrestling is isn't necessarily what you think wrestling is or the next person. Yeah. And I think what makes a great wrestler truly great is being able to get over their own opinion instead of thinking that their own opinion of wrestling is so important, and being able to understand what other people's opinion of wrestling is, because that's really how we get these awesome matches. That way we don't see the same standard formula over and over and over again, the old drop down, leapfrog, give me a hip toss. That's how we get the Omegas versus Okada matches, when people are willing to understand each other on a different level.
Right.
To just open up the world of possibilities. And that's really what I want to learn. And I know that I can't learn that just believing in what I believe.
So, are you currently a champion at the moment?
Yes, I'm a junior heavyweight champion here in Georgia.
Which promotion? Just so we can give the promotion a little bit of burn.
It's P.O.S.E. / Sunbelt. They run all of South of Georgia. It's really great promotions down there.
You said
They always
P.O.S.E.?
take care of the guys. They always put on great shows.
You said P.O.S.E.?
Yes, P.O.S.E. / Sunbelt, because it's actually two companies that are merged into one.
Okay. It's Progressive Organized Sports
have
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just looking here at it right now because I wanted to get that information in front of me. Now, I asked you that for a reason. You're a current champion, which means that the promotion trusts you to hold their championships. Obviously, when I'm looking at it right now, the belt looks pretty good on you, buddy. So that segues me to my next question: is in the future, and it doesn't matter what promotion. I know that the cliche answer is the WWE Championship. If that is it, that's absolutely fine. But my question for you, Mr. Stuckey, is what titles do you wish to hold in any promotion moving forward? And it can lead to the WWE Championship, but I mean in your journey, in your road to getting to where you want to be. What title do you just want to have around your waist, have on your arm that you think would just look great on you and it would be a huge accomplishment?
Off the top of my head, I first would like to be an X Division champion.
Okay.
Every other title in TNA is fine, but I'd love to be an X Division champion just because of the pedigree of that title.
Yeah.
Winning any title in New Japan would be worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I miss the old World Heavyweight title. I know they replaced it with the Universal title, but
yeah.
I'm not really into the Universal title.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't.
I really would like to win just about every title in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. title has great history with guys like Ric Flair, Cena, MVP, Sting. The Intercontinental title had Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the tag team titles. I don't personally have like a favorite tag team partner.
Yeah.
But I would love to get one and then go win the tag team titles. And then, of course, there's the WWE Championship. I think
of course.
The WWE Championship is weird because in recent years, with guys like AJ and Punk and Daniel Bryan, it's no longer so far-fetched to be like, yeah, I want to be WWE champion and not be, 6'6" and 325 pounds. And honestly, I think it means a lot because a lot of guys just don't hold it, or when they do hold it, they're forgettable or they're just completely not important. I mean, just last year we had like 6 guys hold it in the first 4 months. And not saying any of those guys are bad, but the reigns were bad. I would love to have one solid reign with the WWE Championship. That would mean so much. And I think that would be the icing on the cake moment because that's when you can go back to, your high school at your 10-year reunion and be like, hey, I did it.
Yeah.
I think that would be just the biggest accomplishment that I could get in wrestling. Outside of wrestling out of WrestleMania, I think WWE Championship would be number 1.
Oh, dude, and I hope that I really hope that happens for you one day. Just because I think that strap would definitely look great on you. But until then, you're working the indies. You're sharing a lot of your matches and you're meeting people and getting your name out there, which you should. You're doing it the right way while you're wrestling in the indies. Which leads me to my next question for you: is with the state of the indies now, with Gorilla, Pro Wrestling Gorilla, Ring of Honor, all these other promotions that are just getting so much burn now because of the state of the indies. How do you feel about the state of the indies? In my opinion, they've never been hotter, but how do you feel about the state of the indies in 2019 and moving forward?
I feel really good about it because Chuck Taylor said not too long ago that you can now have a modest living by being a wrestler. It's no longer, kids don't go to school and like, oh, I'm going to be a WWE superstar. You can now just say you want to be a pro wrestler and you'll be fine. Nobody's going to look at you funny because now you can make money and hold up your family and yourself, which is the bottom line when it comes to a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
And then you can get a certain level of notoriety. I mean, we call Ring Honor independent, but at this point, Ring Honor is just as big as TNA was.
Well, yeah, because they're
New
giving
Japan,
contracts too.
Yeah, and New Japan isn't like something that only the most hardcore wrestling fans know. We see their matches on Facebook if you don't actually have the New Japan television with Jim Ross, and I always forget the other guy's name, but all these types of wrestling are in your face now. WWE is the ones that really are on their heels. The independents we're the ones that are pushing it forward, blazing new trails. Like,
yeah,
a lot of stuff that you see on Mondays and Tuesdays, I can guarantee some guy did that on Friday and Saturday.
Right.
So I just feel really good about wrestling right now.
And what do you feel, in your opinion, how do you feel about, do you think that people are sticking with the indies these days because they're able to quote their own prices and set their own schedules and people are happier with that? How do you feel about that as opposed to, and this is a question I asked to the ladies' man Mike King the other day in my episode 10 special, is do you think people are more apt to make their own schedule and quote their own prices rather than working the 320 or 330 days in the WWE? How do you feel about that?
Ooh. I think some people do need that wrestling structure that, I'm working this many dates a year that WWE rides, but I think Kenny Omega is a great example of when you're true to yourself, what you can get. Because the thing with going to WWE, let's just be honest, a lot of guys there and a lot of girls there aren't doing things that they want to do. In the independents, you're allowed to be true to yourself.
Right.
I can be Dominic Stuckey as long as I want to be Dominic Stuckey. I can be anything I want to be, honestly, and then as long as I'm willing to be committed to it and I can sell myself to these promoters and to the fans, then the indies is really the place for you. I also think it's better on wrestlers' bodies because like I said earlier, I wrestled for 6 years doing amateur wrestling, and versus the pro wrestling, I've just now entered the start of year 3, and 3 years of pro wrestling has put so much stress on my body as opposed to the other wrestling and the other sports I did. That is crazy. Like, wrestling 300 times a year, I couldn't imagine it because just so much physical, turmoil that it puts you in. Your back is hurting, your arms are hurting. You just don't know. So I think it's even better for the body and for other professional wrestlers to have a certain independent style where you go really hard on a Friday or a Saturday, and you do that every weekend of the year. That's only roughly 104 matches. That's not bad. That's manageable. As opposed to, wrestling once in the afternoon and then going and doing the live event at night, or wrestling twice in the afternoon and going and do the whatever Monday night Raw or Tuesday night SmackDown is, because that's when you get guys get worn down, or we have years where we have a bunch of injuries.
Right.
And that's just not good for anybody. When people get injured, the wrestlers aren't happy because they have to stay home. The fans aren't happy because they're not seeing their favorite people, and the promotions aren't happy because they're not making as much money as they like.
Right. So I have an interesting next question for you. We're heading down the wire here for the last 10 minutes here, so I want to get these shoot these last couple quick questions at you before we gotta have you plug everything that you want to plug and call it a podcast. So I noticed that I'm fortunate enough to know you on a more personal level, so I'm on your personal Facebook, and I'm also on your wrestling Facebook. So your name is Dominic with QUE, but you brand yourself as IC. Is there a reason for that? Is that a branding thing? Why do you have the difference in your first name between your legal name and your wrestling stage name? What's that about?
Well, the difference is the Georgia versus Florida. A lot of people in Florida know me as Dominic, where when I moved to Georgia, it was a lot of Dominique. I accredit that to Dominique Wilkins, the great basketball player for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
So everybody now just calls me Dominique. So Nick is actually the natural one. Nick is the one that came in later.
Okay.
And the first Facebook I had was Dominic, and I lost that one. It had like a Jeff Hardy picture as the profile picture. Then I made the Dominique one, and that's the one that I had when I first started wrestling. And then I went back and made another Dominic one.
Right.
For simply just people who wanted to follow me in wrestling. So I put that on the human highlight reel.
Okay. Hey, I can tell that, like myself, you're a huge basketball fan. You're a Heat fan, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I love the Miami Heat. I'm from Orlando, but I love the Heat.
So, this isn't part of my questions, but how are you gonna feel when your boy Dwayne Wade finally hangs it up, which is coming at the end of the season?
Oh, it's gonna be rough. Like, I love D Wade. I credit D Wade with teaching me a work ethic, because seeing him and LeBron and all those guys work really made me want to get after it and just not, sit at home and do me.
Yeah.
So when he was, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't even like watching Heat basketball when he went to Chicago. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
And we kind of beat him because, honestly, right now, he's probably our best player on the team. Like,
well, you guys just traded Tyler Johnson away.
We traded Tyler, but we had a clog at the shooting guard position. We had Dion, Tyler, Josh Richardson's actually a shooting guard. So we kind of had to do something about it, and Derrick Jones Jr. We needed to do something about it. I might not have traded Tyler, but his contract was about to explode next year into, I think, $20 million a year, and we just couldn't maintain that.
Right. So last question for you before I have you plug everything and get all your information out there so my fans can follow you and become your fan, become a fan of you, that is. So we were talking offline while I was show prepping for you. I was sitting over here on my Switch playing a little Pokemon Let's Go and just, chilling out on a Sunday morning and show prepping for this big show to you. You're like myself, you're a bit of a nerd. Favorite video games of all time from Dominic Stuckey.
Ooh, just about every Dragon Ball Z game.
Okay.
I love the Budokai Tenkaichi series. That's actually how I got into video games.
Yeah.
All the Pokemon games, really, except like Sun and Moon. I didn't really dig Sun and Moon that much.
Didn't get into it.
But I loved all the Pokemon games. Going back to sports, I love just about every sports game. I even play the NHL games. Not
Me
good
too.
at them, but I play them.
Yeah.
What other video games? I'm currently playing Jump Force right now. I hadn't got too deep into it. I'm just on Chapter 3, but I've been all over that.
Is that okay?
I didn't hear you.
Is that okay? Is that a good game?
Yeah, the game is really solid. The grinding's kind of a pain, but it was definitely worth it. It was worth it.
Okay. I need to know if I need to get it or not.
Game.
I'm sorry, you said what?
I also love the Civilization games. And if you're thinking about getting Jump Force, get Jump Force. If anything, the customization will blow you away.
Okay, yeah, I like customization, so that's good. So yeah, you're a big time gamer, man. Also, fun fact for anybody that is listening in here is Dominic Stuckey actually uses a Alakan Howse song, a Con Rome song, as his entrance music. Which song are you using, buddy?
Story of the Champion. If anyone didn't know that, you can check out a lot of my videos that has it. Or you can just go straight to my YouTube page. It's linked right on my description of YouTube. That way, anybody that wants to see it can actually see the actual video that goes along with the song. It's a really good video, so if you hadn't seen the video, you should really go see it. It's more than just a song to me. I've had it, at this point, almost 3 years, so I would really like it if everybody went out and got to see it.
Absolutely, man, and thanks for using that. Thanks for using that song, man. I'm glad that it resonated with you the way that it did. That, you know, me as a musician, you being a wrestler, me loving music and wrestling, that actually means something to me. So I never got a chance to really tell you that's very cool. I really appreciate that. You're awesome for doing that. And I'm glad it resonated with you the way that it did, because when I see you and hear you and hear you cut your promos, like the promo here at the top of the podcast here, I'm like, man, this cat is living his story of a champion. So that's just, to me, that's awesome and humbling, and you know, it makes me feel good as an artist that I can say, and honestly, Dominic, I brag about it. That I'm like, hey, this young cat, this young independent wrestler, he's using my song, and he's been using it, and it's a bragging thing for me. It's a pride thing, man. So seriously, thank you, man. Seriously.
Oh, no, I really need to thank you, because it's funny that you brag about it, because I go up to my friends like, hey, I know a guy, he doesn't live in Georgia, and he made me a song, and I love using the song because, for one, a lot of independent wrestlers get into trouble because they use copyrighted music.
Yeah.
That one I have personal permission from the artist to use, so it's really nice. And it's something that if a fan wants to know my theme song, I'm happy when they're like, oh man, what song is that? Who's that rapper? And I can send them the link and it's like, hey, I know that guy. So trust me, awesome, I love using it. It's done more for me than a lot of things in wrestling.
Man, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that, and you know, once again, as an artist, that brings me joy, because I don't do music to try and get famous or try and get to the money or anything. I do it because I love to do it. And when somebody is doing what they love to do, which for you it's wrestling, and I can contribute in any possible way that I can, because I can't step in that ring. I can't do what you guys do. Thank you and everybody else that step in that ring and put their body on the line for mine and everybody else's entertainment. Thank you to you and every other athlete that steps in that ring. So if I can contribute in a small way, I'm glad to do it. Hey, we're running out of time here, buddy. We're closing in on 2 minutes here. Plug everything. Where can people see you? Where can they see you wrestle? Where can they follow you? We want everybody to know the name Dominic Stuckey, the Lightweight Lion. Plug away.
Well, if you really want to follow me, just type in They Call Me Dom. That'll get me on just about everything, on Instagram, on Twitter.
Yeah.
My YouTube page is simply They Call Me Dom, Dominic Stuckey, / Dominic Demento, because originally I was Dominic Demento, but that's a story for another time. I love the plug Better Than You. It's this wrestling community, and honestly, they don't get enough appreciation for what they did in my career, because before I even got into Better Than You, I didn't even know what indie wrestling was. I really thought you just kind of showed up at WWE one day, so credit to them for at least showing me what indie wrestling is. Plug Con Rome for making my theme song. And if you're interested in seeing me wrestle, if I'm not in your state, which I don't know if I'll be in your state next month or next 3 months or whenever, you can always see my matches on YouTube. I always share. I always put them up there completely free, no hassle, so that nobody can take it away from you, because the number one thing is giving it to the fans, because honestly, what is wrestling without wrestling fans? So
absolutely.
That's about all my plugs.
There's all those plugs out there. Hey guys, that was the Lightweight Lion. This is the genesis of Dominic Stuckey. You want to be on the ground floor of this kid. I'm telling you that he is going places. You heard it here first at In Your House from Alakan House. That's the facts. Guys, I had a lot of fun talking to my man Dominic. We're going to talk a little bit offline. Follow me on IG at In Your House, on Twitter at the Pros of Con, House Hustle Entertainment page on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a whole lot of fun. Once again, I gotta say that this is In Your House, starring Alakan House. This is the People's Podcast. Until next time, guys, enjoy your Sunday. Tonight's Elimination Chamber. Hopefully you guys are checking that out. Have a good night.